So this helped me on my creative rut, and this isn't the first time, nor will it be the last. A creative rut, a creative block, it's like a nightmare that you can't wake up from. Now, you know that you're dreaming, but that monster that's chasing you is still so scary, even though you know that it doesn't exist. Steven Pressfield in The War of Art illustrates this idea perfectly. Are you paralyzed with fear? That's a good sign. Fear is good. Like self-doubt, fear is an indicator. Fear tells us what we have to do. Remember one rule of thumb. The more scared we are of a work or calling, the more sure we can be that we have to do it. So we've established there's a work or a calling that we've been avoiding. Always easier said than done. What we have to figure out is how to take our convictions and our thoughts and put them into practice and motion. Now, I almost called this video, What to Do When You Hate Your Work. But as I was thinking about it a bit more, that statement's pretty deceitful because the issue actually lies within that statement itself. Now, I believe there's two things that are actually prominent when you start to feel this way. Number one, slow improvement can be explained easily enough by one of my favorite books on the subject of mastery. This is the exoneral fact of the journey. You also have to be willing to spend most of your time on a plateau, to keep practicing even when you seem to be getting nowhere. Mastery, the keys to success and long-term fulfillment, George Leonard. Let's build some context. Let's say we're on a fitness journey and you had to lose 20 pounds. Now, what happens is most people go after that goal, and if 3 months they're not getting the results they want, they just go and give up. But in any sober state, we can all agree, if that took us 12 months to lose that 20 pounds, we'd all be incredibly happy. That's 1.6 pounds a month, meaning one less snack a day for you to actually get that goal, eating relatively healthy and working out. Now, again, we agree that's doable, but then why do so many people revert back to the old habits and sometimes even get worse than they were before? Well, I've come to believe that when progress isn't easily perceived, our mind plays tricks on us and tells us that all the work we've been doing is actually for nothing. It's so much harder to change than to remain the same and stay in our comfort zone. Now let's take this back to creativity and art. I want to use myself for an example. When I set up my music production, I purposely set it up so when I open my program, I use a program called Ableton. Right away on my left-hand side, I have a folder of everything I produce and all the songs that I've written and recorded recently. So usually when I start just getting to work, I like to just click around a little bit and see what I've been up to. And often I find the time away from these songs that I thought were trash or weren't really great ideas, I often find out that these actually, a lot of them had a lot of really good elements. Now they're not always in totality amazing, but there's a lot of good elements that I can always rework, I can refashion in different places. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the bias really softens up the more time you spend away from it. And the second, probably the most important thing is, when you have these things easily accessible in a folder where you can really see where I was yesterday and then 6 months ago and then a year ago, 2 years ago, you start to really see your progression at that point. Now, the day-to-day, it's so hard to know if you're getting better. It's so hard to get that feeling. But especially in art where it's very subjective, it's not objective like other particular goals. When you keep a file of all these things together, that's where it really gets to encourage you to know that you're, okay, I'm moving up, the trajectory is getting better, I'm becoming a better artist, a better creative. To take it back to that fitness example, that's why they say you have to take photos often, if not daily, because the building of muscle and the losing of fat, the scale doesn't tell the whole story. Now, in the same way, our success does not tell the whole story and does not qualify our quality necessarily. For so many of us, the value of ourselves and our work are based on what other people say about it and say about us. And not to bust your bubble, but there's a half truth there. We should have value for others if we're calling ourselves professionals. But the flip side to that is that the value of our work is derived first from the value that we put on it. That means the time, the care, the diligence, the attention to detail that we spend on mastering our crafts. Those will speak louder than anything we could tell people about our work. Especially us as humans, as we are all connected. We were built with authenticity meters. There's no way we can get around pretending we're something, pretending our work is something that it's not. I think we all know this, and this is part of the reason why our abilities get hampered when that pressure gets turned on. Now, is this fear real? Well, that becomes debatable. If you are a professional and you know the next project makes a big difference whether you have money lost or money gained for you and your family, well, that's a reasonable fear. If you're someone that put everything into your creative and you put your last dime hoping for a Hail Mary, a home run on your next project, or else you won't be able to practice that again professionally, well, that becomes a reasonable fear. The issue with that, though, is fear doesn't make great art. So we need to figure out, how do we mitigate this fear? I believe it's more simple than we think it is, just by making it fun. That's why we got into this. Because it was interesting, because it was fulfilling, because it was fun. We want as much as we can to create with the intention of having fun, thinking about business later. This might mean, as a writer, think about writing something other than what you get paid to write. As a musician, maybe you write a song about something you never talk about in your music. Maybe writing music in a different style or a different genre of music. Now, you can even say, as a digital artist, why not do something for passion first and worry about your commission projects later? And this doesn't have to take long. 30 minutes alone will get your creative juices going, where now you get to worry about yourself and just creating first. And when you create this way, there's no intention for you to create the perfect piece of art. You're simply just putting up reps, you're simply just having fun. And as poetic as it sounds, so many artists, so many creatives talk about in these moments where they go back to their childlike fun and they're just creating for create's sake, that they end up creating their masterpieces. Now, pressure isn't all bad, but pressure should be used sparingly, either to actually finish up the work, make sure we're actually sharing our work. In that state of having all that pressure, that should never be the majority of where we're spending our time when we're creatives. Above all else though, you have to get to know yourself. You have to build a self-awareness to know what you need. I'm only giving you tools. Some of these will work for you, some of them won't. But that's why I created this channel, so we could talk about these things. If there's anything I missed, anything that might work for you that I haven't mentioned, please mention in the comments below. We're all trying to get better. Go create, be great, hope this helped. Peace.